Hello, YouTube family. This is Professor Frederick Torrey T. Green coming to you live with another segment of Color of Truth, where we are unveiling the real colors of all truth. Tonight, I'd like to share something with you that I found very interesting and it's noteworthy of discussion. Earlier today, I was on a panel and we were discussing. It's a mentoring and empowerment panel, so there was a workshop that was given. Um, on a reentry task force. And so one of the things that was brought up was the hidden rules of social class by Ruby Payne, and it describes those that have a generational poverty mindset, a middle class mindset, and a wealth mindset, and the different values. And I'm gonna put that in the description link about the Ruby Payne's chart, uh, the hidden rules and the hidden rules of social class. So I brought up the fact about deferred gratification because one of the things in a generational poverty mindset is as it relates to um, in one of the sections, survival is key. And so I want to have some discussion tonight around what sociologists classify as deferred gratification. And talk a little bit about social structure. So we've heard the term and the current and the past, excuse me, the previous administration um, oftentimes say that anybody can make it. And you heard the term with him about uh, 45 talked about lace up your bootstraps. And oftentimes you will have those conversations with individuals say, well, if you work hard enough, if you just lace up your bootstraps, that you can make it in society. Let's think about that. You have a lot of people right now who have master's degrees and doctorate degrees who have done what society said that is necessary for them to get ahead, to have some upward mobility, and guess what? They can't even find employment. But let's discuss for a second about from a sociological perspective about deferred gratification. But I want to touch on why we think people are poor, since the Ruby Payne's chart talked about generational poverty. Um, so why do we think people are poor? Listen to this. There are two explanations that may compete for our attention. First, which sociologists prefer, focus on social structure. Sociologists stress features of society denies some people access to education or training in job skills. They emphasize racial, ethnic, age, and gender discrimination, as well as changes in the job market. Fewer unskilled jobs, businesses closing, and manufacturing jobs moving overseas. In short, some people find their escape route from poverty blocked. So we talk about social structure. We talk about features of society that cause people not to have upward mobility. Then there's another competing explanation. Characteristics of an individual. This is when people say you got to lace up your bootstraps. Sociologists reject explanations such as laziness and lack of intelligence, viewing these as worthless stereotypes. So we don't want to say people are lazy. We don't want to say people lack intelligence, though we use that as an excuse to why people don't have upward mobility, why people can't get ahead. Individualistic explanations that sociologists reluctantly acknowledge include dropping out of school and bearing children in teen years. Most sociologists are reluctant to speak of such factors in this context since they appear to blame the victim, something that sociologists been over backwards not to do. A third explanation is poverty triggers, the unexpected events in life that push people into poverty, like this pandemic, pushes people into poverty. People have lost their businesses, people have lost their homes, right? People that once had jobs, the jobs that closed down, and they only had those certain skills, then they were not able to find jobs, right? So, and then you have those things that happen in society. Like for instance, you had a bunch of people who may have been wealthy off the stock market. Those stocks that they had, they may have crashed. Guess what? That propelled those people into a certain form of poverty, right? Well, watch this about the deferred gratification, and I would like for you to drop a comment about this. So, seeing that all of this happens, you're at home now. You can't work because you have to watch your children because the children can't go to daycare because of the pandemic. Everybody is afraid of corona, right? Do you defer gratification? That means, do you hold back on the things that you might want to do, saying that, guess what? It doesn't matter anyway. Something's always going to come up. So I might as well enjoy myself now. Where I come from, we say ball out till you fall out, right? So let's talk about that. One consequence of life of deprivation punctuated by emergencies and of the viewing of the future as promising more of the same is the lack of deferred gratification. So that means going without something in the present in hope of achieving greater gains in the future. It is difficult to practice this middle class virtue of deferred gratification if you do not have middle class surplus or middle class hope, right? And most people who are in the middle class category have what you call a false class consciousness anyway, because of the fact they think that they are capitalists when really they're not. You open up a little business, you put a couple of $1,000s in the bank, you drive a Mercedes Benz or Beamer. You know what I'm saying? I have arrived. You get a cookie cutter house out in the suburbs, which has the highest, according to research, the suburbanization of America has the highest concentration of poverty. We'll get into that another time. You go back and do your research. The suburbanization of America has the highest rates of poverty behind rural poverty. Okay? So what they did, we are always the litmus test. We are always the guinea pigs. We are always the class of people that study. When I say we are always, I'm talking about myself as an African-American male. African-Americans, because this is the color of truth. So they did a study on black street corner men in the 60s, right? And they noted that most black street corner men did not defer gratification. Guess what? Their jobs were low paying and insecure. Their lives pitted with emergencies, with the future looking exactly like the present, and any savings they did manage gobbled up by emergency. It seemed pointless to save for the future. The only thing that made sense from their perspective was to enjoy what they could at the moment. Immediate gratification then was not the cause of their poverty, but rather the consequences. Say that again. Immediate gratification is not the cause of poverty, but the consequence of it. Cause and consequence loop together. However, their immediate gratification helped perpetuate their poverty. For another look at this looping, we have to look at structural causes at work. And not only that, old cars breaking down, facing the threats of the utility companies shutting off water and power supplies. So it's always something. So my question is, you two family, do you defer gratification in hopes of a better future? Do you balance it? Or do you take and you enjoy yourself and have immediate gratification? And I think it's worth a discussion because most people may say, man, I'm going to live today because tomorrow ain't promised. Now, me, myself, I think you need a balance. But it's hard because of the fact that, guess what? You're steady trying to climb the social class ladder. And every time you get on one rung, just like climbing an actual ladder, something knocks you down to another rung. There's no mentorship. There's no people in your corner that's providing a safety net for you. Everybody's saying I gotta do me at this moment. The individualistic type of mindset instead of a mutualistic mindset. Everybody is operating in silos. So what do? It's not that individuals, especially African Americans and people of color, that are lazy. I know most people work 2 and 3 jobs and still live are classified as the working poor or live up under the poverty line. So family, drop a comment. That's a little bit about social structure and deferred gratification. Drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. It's real talk. It's happening every day. Even in my own life, with a master's degree, with years of experience, and I still got to fight for jobs. I still got to fight for do pro bono work and volunteer and still fight to try to get on boards and committees to try to have some upward mobility. It's a challenge. So do you defer gratification? Hit that subscribe button. Smash the likes. Hit the notification bell so every time I drop some knowledge or drop some information, you'll be privy to it and you'll be the first to be in the loop. Thank you for always tuning in. Color of Truth.